Hi guys, welcome to our channel. In the previous videos, we covered the four principles of insurance, which is utmost good faith, indemnity, insurable interest, and proximate cost. In today's video, we are going to cover principle of subrogation. So let's get on with it.
Hello friends, today we are going to cover principle of subrogation. I'll give an example and try to make you get a grip of what I am trying to communicate. A consignment of confectionery items was booked as full truckload to be transported from the warehouse of X to that of Y. As the term full truckload means, it's a legally drafted terminology. That means if any party is booking a consignment on full truckload basis, that means only that particular consignment should be carried in that truck. No other consignment, no other part, cargo or anything is permitted to be carried along with the subject consignment. That is called full truckload. So here a consignment was booked on full truckload basis. The consignment was safely loaded, duly protected against exposure to rain with the help of tarpaulin, etc. And the truck left the premises of X. Once the consignment reached the warehouse of Y and the tarpaulin was opened for unloading of the same, when it was noticed that the cargo had absorbed fish smell. There were clear evidences for the truck to have carried some other cargo kept over and above the subject consignment of confectionery items, and the same to have let down some liquid which had fallen on the subject consignment of confectionery items. On detailed probing, it came to light that the truck driver had allowed baskets of chilled fish to be kept on top of the subject consignment. The chilled fish, after some time, the temperature will shoot up and the ice on it will become water. It will just naturally fall down. So that water had carried the smell of fish as well. So the whole consignment of confectionery goods had absorbed the water which fell from the fish baskets. Along with the fish water, it carried the fish smell also. So the confectionery item goods it absorbed the fish smell and it was rendered unfit for use. With the stink, the entire consignment was rejected and had to be destroyed by burying. Is such type of loss claim admissible under a marine transit policy with all risk cover? It's a question because the truck has not met with any accident and there was no physical damage to the consignment which was booked. Does this kind of situation fall within the purview of a marine cargo insurance policy? The answer is yes. Once the truck leaves the consigners at the supplier's premises, the consignor has no control over the truck or the cargo till it reaches the consignee's premises. So from the consignor's premises to the consignee's premises, the entire responsibility on the to safeguard the cargo is resting with the transporter. Any negligence on the part of the truck driver or the cleaner will fall back on the transporter because they are engaged by the transporter. So the transporter cannot wash off his hands and say, no, it is my cleaner who did the mistake or it is a driver who did the mistake. No, it is the responsibility of the transporter. So the claim is admissible because the loss in such situation occurred due to a transit hazard. A negligence on the part of the transporter is part of the transit hazard which is covered under the marine cargo policy, transit policy. So the claim is admissible. Now the consignee has to immediately put the transporter on notice that because of your negligence, the entire cargo got damaged and became unfit for use. So we hold you liable for causing damage to consignment, and on receipt of this notice, you are required to immediately remit the entire consignment value, which is my loss. So the claim is admissible since the cargo was originally booked as full truckload. Loading of any other cargo on the truck was unauthorized. Due to carrying unauthorized cargo over and above the insured consignment, the latter got damaged and was rendered unfit for use. The damage to consignment occurred solely due to the negligence on the part of the transporter. The insurer, while admitting the claim, takes over the rights of recovery of the loss from the transporter, the negligence of whom caused the loss. The transfer of right of recovery of the loss amount by the insured to the insurer is termed the transfer of subrogation rights. Primarily, the cargo belongs to the insured. So the insured has got the prime right, first right, to file a recovery suit against the negligent party or the transporter. But when there is a claim, the right of recovery, the insured is transferring to the insurer, because the insurer is admitting a claim, so the right of recovery is transferred to the insurer. That is called subrogation right, transfer of subrogation right. This is how the principle of subrogation operates. So the process of transfer of recovery rights by the insured to the insurer is in accordance with principle of subrogation. The principle of subrogation aims to achieve the following objectives. If recovery rights are not transferred through the principle of subrogation, then the claimant would stand to get double benefit. Claimant is filing or sending a notice to the transporter for recovery of loss, and by chance, if the insurance company has missed to take over the right of recovery, then the claimant can proceed against the transporter and the insurance company is settling the claim. So the insured stands to get double benefit, which is not permitted under law. So this is principle of subrogation operates in tandem with principle of indemnity. The insured is eligible to get only the exact amount of loss what he has incurred. The principle of subrogation prevents the insured from getting double benefit. This is again a corollary to principle of indemnity. Once right of recovery is transferred, the insurance company is empowered to pursue the recovery process against the transporter. Thus, the guilty is brought to book and made to pay the loss. The recovery concept itself is aimed at making the transporter become more responsible, because if he is not going to lose anything from his pocket for any negligence also, then he will continue to be negligent. He need not be extra careful at all. So there should be a recovery process. Even if the insurance company is recovering only say 10% or 20% of the loss, still for the transporter, he is going to lose financially for some negligence on his part. So naturally, he will become more careful in future. So that is why the recovery process is a must. With this, the insurer is able to partially or fully recover the loss amount. Thus, the insurance company's losses are reduced, the benefit of which is in turn passed on to the policyholder by way of reduction in premium. Assume that the losses are too many. Naturally, when the next renewal comes, there will be loading on the premium. The insured is going to pay more premium for the same kind of service which he can get from the insurance company. But if the recovery is possible and the losses are reduced, naturally the benefit will go to the insured also. Either the premium will not be loaded, or there may be a possibility of premium reduction also. Principle of subrogation also empowers the insurer to take possession of subject matter of a claim and deal with the same, including its disposal. In case the insurance company recovers an amount higher than what was paid to the insured as claim, the excess amount collected must be returned to the insured after deducting the recovery expenses such as legal charges, etc. There are cases where the insurance company may recover a higher amount than what is actually paid as a claim. If there is an excess recovery possible, naturally the excess amount should go to the insured, because the insurance company doesn't deserve that excess amount. But they have a right to recover the legal charges, etc. There are cases in which the transporter might be required to keep an amount as security with the principal, that is the insured. And the insured is in a position to recover the loss amount from the negligent transporter. In such situation, the insurer is not liable to pay any compensation. In the case of big companies where they have too many transportation happening or transits happening or trips happening every day, they'll put a lot of conditions for the air transporter to get empaneled as a nominated transporter, and the transporter will be asked to remit a huge amount as security deposit for getting into the panel of transporter as a transporter. So in such cases, whenever there is a loss, there is a possibility that the insured can or the client can recover the amount from the security deposit. If such a recovery is possible, naturally the insurance company will not admit a claim. So there should be only one-time compensation to the person or the company which has suffered a loss. Similarly, for some reason, the insured chooses not to pursue recovery against the negligent person agency out of personal consideration. In such situation, the insurer is not liable for compensation as his right to sue the negligent party is not protected by the insured. It's a prerequisite to admission of a claim under a marine cargo insurance policy that the transporter should be held liable for causing damage to the cargo. This is a prerequisite because the insurance company, on admission of the claim, they will have to proceed against the transporter for recovery of the loss. So the recovery of the loss is possible only if timely action is taken by putting the transporter on notice for having caused damage to the consignment due to negligence on their part. The principle of subrogation applies to general insurance other than insurance on human only. Life insurance or health insurance operates on prefixed compensation plan, and the principle of indemnity does not apply. As I mentioned earlier, principle of subrogation operates in tandem with principle of indemnity. Principle of indemnity is not applicable in the case of life insurance or health insurance. They're all the compensation is paid on prefixed basis. It's all there in the policy. Accordingly, the compensation plan works. There can be no subrogation on anyone's life. In case of loss of life, the insurance company has to pay the assured amount to the beneficiary of the insured. Here, the insurer has no right of action against the third party for financial claims, even if the loss of life was caused by him. So legally, it is possible that a third party may be responsible for loss of life caused to the insured. In the case of a life insurance, the insurance company cannot proceed against the third party. That means subrogation rights do not exist in the case of life insurance. Next, I will cover the limitations of principle of subrogation. This principle is not applicable to life insurance policies, as I mentioned earlier. So the insurer has no right of action against the third parties responsible for the death. The principle becomes operative only after the insured has been indemnified. There is no relation between the indemnity provided for and the exercise of subrogation. The insurer may not be able to recover the same amount by exercising the right of subrogation against the third party. So insurance company first settles the claim, and at the time of settlement, the subrogation rights are transferred. That means recovery rights are transferred by the claimant to the insurance company, and they proceed against the transporter or the negligent party from whom the loss is to be recovered. But the insurance company may recover maybe 10%, 20% or a portion of the claim only. So it has no binding on the exact claim amount which is paid to the claimant. Subrogation cannot be exercised where the assured is not in a position to take action against the damaging party. Example, person causing damage being close relative or such other personal consideration coming in the way. So wherever the action cannot be taken against the person who has caused a loss, subrogation cannot be invoked. That's all for today. I'll pass on the chair to Aishwarya for concluding today's session.
That was the principle of subrogation. In the next video, we're going to cover the last principle, that is principle of contribution. If you have any questions or doubts regarding the sessions that were covered so far, feel free to mention it in the comments below. We will take up each and every question and answer them in the next video. Thank you. Also, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Bye-bye. It in the comments below. We will surely take it up and clarify it in the next session once more of contribution. Along with that, we'll also be covering any questions regarding the sessions that we have covered so far. Please feel free to mention it in the comments below. We'll be taking it up and answering them tomorrow. Taking it up and answering them in the next session. That was the principle of contribution.